In this video, we are going to start our unit on solving systems of equations. Now, fortunately, you guys did systems in Algebra 1, so I'm hoping this unit is just going to be a good review unit. Today, we're going to look at solving systems by substitution. If you look in your notes, you'll notice that numbers 1 through 5 are review problems from previous units, so we are going to do those together for warm-up. We're going to skip down to this problem at the bottom of the first page. Okay, so let's talk about solving systems. When you solve a system, look at the way that's originally written. Do you see you have two separate equations, both of which have an x and a y? So the answer to your system is going to have an x and a y. It's going to be a point, and you need to write your answer as a point. Okay, substitution. Substitution is where you put something in place of something else. So in this one, I have y is equal to x plus 5. I also have that y is equal to 2x plus 7. So remember that equals means is the same thing as. So this is really saying that y is the same thing as 2x plus 7. So that means I can put 2x plus 7 in place of y because they're the same thing. So I'm going to have 2x plus 7 equals x plus 5. Okay, now that I have substituted, I have everything in terms of one variable, so I can solve this. So let's subtract to get all of our x's on the same side. 2x minus 1x is 1x. And then I'll subtract 7 from both sides to get x by itself. And I get x equals negative 2. So you might want to say at this point that you're done because you have x equals a number. But remember, when we're solving a system, we need both an x value and a y value. So we're actually only halfway done. And now this x, I can substitute back to solve for y. And I can substitute into the second equation, or I can substitute into the first equation. In this problem, both of those are already equal to y, so neither one of them is really easier than the first one. Neither one of them is really easier than the other one. I'm just going to choose the first one for no reason other than it's on top. All right, and substituting in negative 2 for x and then solving, I get y equals 3. So I want to write my final answer as a point. And so my answer is going to be the point negative 2, 3. Okay, let's look at our calculators and see what we have found here. So I have it already typed in for us, y equals x plus 5 and y equals 2x plus 7. And if I graph that, right, there's my two diagonal lines. And let's look at this point of intersection. So I'll calculate, go down to number 5, which is intersection. My first curve is the blue one. Second curve is the red one. And then my guess is going to be this point here in the middle. So hit enter one more time. And my intersection is the point negative 2, 3, which is exactly what we have right here. So when we're solving a system of equations, what we're actually finding is where this function is equal to this function, where they cross each other, which is the point of intersection. So I'm showing you how to do that on your calculator because graphing is a good method, but also because I want you to be able to check your work. But please be aware that when you take your test on this section, you are not going to be able to just use a calculator. You're going to have to show your work for this substitution. Okay, let's do this one with substitution. So just like before, I have the y is the same thing as negative 8x minus 8. And so I can substitute for this y right here. Okay, so let's put that in there. All right, be really careful with your negatives here. This negative is right here, and I want to have this one in parentheses because I'm subtracting this whole y. I'm subtracting this whole value, so I need to be able to distribute my negative. So first thing I'm going to do here is distribute my negative. Okay, combine like terms. Negative 5x plus 8x is 3x. And now I'll subtract 8 from both sides, trying to get 3x by itself. And right here, some of you guys are going to panic. You're okay with the 3x on the left-hand side, but everything canceled out. and that kind of causes you some anxiety. But notice what's happening here. When everything cancels out, what we're really saying is that 8 minus 8 is 0. Well, 0 is a perfectly good number. I can continue working with it. I'm not going to get panicky just because I got a 0. Still trying to get x by itself. I'll divide both sides by 3, and 0 divided by 3 is 0. Okay, now remember what we want our answer to a system to look like. I want to have the point xy. So I'm only halfway done. I've only got x. So I'm going to substitute my x. And again, I could substitute into the second one, or I could substitute into the first one. This time I'm going to choose the first one because it already has y by itself, and that's going to make it a lot easier at the end. So I'll put y equals, and then I'll put 0 in place of x, and I'll just simplify, and I get -8. Okay, so now remember, I want to write my final answer as a point, so I'm going to get the point 0, comma, -8. Okay, if I want to put this one in my calculator to check my work, I see that I already have y by itself here, but I don't have this one in the right form to be able to put it in my calculator. So I'm going to need to work on that second one to get y by itself. So I'll add 5x to both sides. And then I'll divide both sides by -1 so that I can get y by itself. All right, and I've got y equals -5x minus 8. Okay, let's put both of those in our calculator. Okay, I have both of those typed in, and I'll hit graph. All right, there's -8x minus 8. And there's -5x minus 8. Okay, let's find their point of intersection. So second, calculate, go down to number 5. The blue one is my first curve, so I'll hit enter. The red one is my second curve, so I'll hit enter again. And now it asks me to guess. And the intersection point is the point 0, -8, which you can see that's exactly what we got for our answer. So far, everything is good. We are finding that point of intersection using substitution. All right, let's look at this one. This one is a little bit more challenging because you see neither one of these is solved for a variable. So the first thing I need to do is figure out which variable I should solve for. So I look at the coefficient. Remember, the coefficient is the number in front of the variable, and I want to find the one with a coefficient of either 1 or -1. That's going to be my easiest one because I'm never going to have to worry about fractions. This one will have all integer values, which will make it the easiest one to solve. So I'm going to get x by itself. The one with a coefficient of 1 is the one you want to get by itself, no matter if it's x or y. All right, those are not like terms, so I'll just write them both down. Okay, so now I've got x by itself. I'm saying that x is the same thing as -2y minus 12. So I can put -2y minus 12 into this equation. Notice that it's very important that I substitute into the other equation. If I substitute back into this one, I'm not going to be able to solve anything. I have to substitute into the other equation. So let's put -2y minus 12 in place of that x. Okay, so to solve this, I need to distribute my -5. Now I'll combine like terms on the left-hand side. I can see that 10y and 5y are like terms, so I'll put those together. All right, subtracting 60, working to get y by itself. All right, dividing both sides by 15, still working to get x by itself. And y equals -3. Okay, so now, just like before, are we done with the problem at this point? I have a variable equals a number, so am I done? No, look back in my original. I had both an x and a y in my original problem, so I need both an x and a y in my answer. So far, all I have is y. So I'm going to substitute that in here because I want to be able to have x. And so the easiest place to put it is the one that has x already by itself. So I'll put -3 in place of y. 6 minus 12, -6. Okay, then remember, I want to write my final answer as a point because it's the point where these two lines cross, and it's going to be the point -6, -3. Okay, if you needed to check this one algebraically instead of on your calculator, you would need to remember to substitute for x and y in both of these equations. So in the top equation, I would have -5 times -6 plus 5 times -3. And I would need to substitute that into my calculator and see if I got 15. And then I would substitute into the bottom equation. And I would type that in my calculator to see if I got -12. Oops, you can't see my negative very well. See if I got -12. Okay, so what I'm putting in this orange box right here, this is what we would do to check. Okay, the answer is here, but the check step is here. All right, let's try this one. So I have the same situation here. I don't have any of the variables already by themselves, so I look at the coefficients. The easiest one to solve is going to be this one with a -1. Always look for one that has a +1 or a -1 because you're not going to have any fractions. All right, so I'll work to get x by itself, add 3y to both sides. Okay, now I need to divide both sides by -1. I don't have x by itself quite yet. And so I have this, x equals -3y plus 12. Okay, so remember, this means that x is the same thing as -3y plus 12. So I can substitute that for x in the other equation. So let's replace that x with -3y plus 12. Okay, just like before, the first thing I need to do to simplify this is distribute the 7. Oops, can't see my 21 there. All right, combine like terms, -21 and -3, that makes -24y. Okay, now what do we need to do to get y by itself? I need to subtract 84 from both sides. All right, and I'm going to end up with -24y equals -66. I'm going to divide both sides by -24, working to get y by itself. All right, 66 divided by -24, and I want to leave my answer as a fraction. So that's going to be 11/4. Okay, I'm not going to be panicky about the fact that it's a fraction because I can work with fractions and my calculator can work with fractions, so no problem. All right, what do we do once we have a value for y? Well, I'm going to substitute it in, and just like before, I'm going to choose to substitute into this one because I already have x by itself. And that's going to make this last step easier. Okay, and I can type that directly in my calculator. Remember to do math enter enter to change your answer into a fraction. And you get 15/4. Okay, so the final answer, x comma y, 15/4 comma 11/4. And you can double check that either in your calculator or you can double check that by substituting into both equations algebraically and make sure they work out to be 18 and -12.